Well, the River State problem is artificial. Governor Wike had his 8 years in office. When he was governor, he did perform maybe on road building. So he was focused on roads, probably, and which I applaud him for that. But the truth is, tenure is overweight, and he ought to recognize that governors come and they go. We had Governor Spiff, who did wonderfully well, Okilo, Odili, Mechi. They came and went. So coming to perpetrate and aggrandize River State government powers to himself, that is unconstitutional, and no judge should support that. If, like I've read, the Supreme Court of Nigeria have held that held consistent with the Constitution of Nigeria, Federal Republic, that a state assembly member once elected on the party platform cannot cross carpet. That if a state assembly member cross carpets, he immediately relinquishes and vacates the seat. That is the Supreme Court decision. So what ought to happen to avoid these problems we're having in River State? INEC should immediately adopt that and amend its policy. The State Electoral Commission, all states, that's how it's done in the US. Once the Supreme Court make a decision, that's a policy decision. Once it's published, all agencies that decision touches and concerns must immediately go back to their rule books and adopt that policy.
But sometimes these people, they go back to the court and get the court to place injunctions against removing them and all those kind of things.
Yeah, but those judges ought to be disciplined, like I told you about the California State Middle Appellate judge that was disciplined. This is a Supreme Court decision that's not even 10 years old. And now this other person is violating that decision. So does it mean that, okay, what is the presidential effect of a Supreme Court judgment? If the Supreme Court will rule, for example, I just read on the newspapers that the governor of Edo State suspended local government chairman. But there's a subsisting Supreme Court decision that they don't have those kind of powers, the governor. So this governor ought to be impeached. He has violated the Constitution of Nigeria. So he ought to be impeached. So in light of the River State Assembly situation, once they've decamped, those seats, the law is clear. No court should interpret a law that in the black letter is unambiguous. It says that if you decamp, you lose your seat. Any common man could be a judge on that. You don't need to have 3 PhDs, be a judge for 40 years to read. It's common. So even in law, there's a doctrine that says that when the Constitution or a statute is written in plain, ordinary language, it's not subject to technical interpretation. You adopt it. And that's what it says. The Supreme Court have clarified it. No court should now come and second guess the Supreme Court, because part of their duties as a judge, you've taken an oath to uphold the Constitution of Nigeria. And the final arbiter of what that Constitution stands for is the Supreme Court. It's binding. And it's time for the Supreme Court too to start implementing and disciplining these judges that think that they are counter Supreme Court justices themselves. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, the average citizen doesn't know that once you say the sovereign republic of Nigeria, sovereign means people, not land. The sovereignty is the totality of the people coming together. They are the sovereign, right? So if we know that we are the sovereign collectively, River State people could decide to rebel and remove a governor. If there's 3 million people, or even 500,000 people amassed at the State Assembly that they want this governor to go, guess what? You have to resign. Look at what happened in Kenya. So that is, the citizens are asserting themselves as the sovereign. Look at what happened in Syria. Where's the president? He ran away. Because the sovereign, the true sovereign, decided it's enough. But in Nigeria, if Wike is fighting with Governor Fubara, they were like, well, it's like out-of-body experience. They are seeing that they are fighting. But guess what? What they are doing is affecting you. That's why you can't fuel your car. That's why you can't buy. The prices of things has gone up. Because they are there with blinded eyes, closed ears, and absolutely self-centeredness, egotistical maniacs, if I may call it that way. That's how the political class in Nigeria. So they are working with blind eyes. They are not perceptive. Look, for example, in the US, a governor or a president could lose the elections, a senator, based on the price of goods, commodities, or based on the price of medicine. If the Federal Republic of Nigeria were doing its job, they could go with the power of the federal government and negotiate with the medical, the drug, the medicine producers with that power and negotiate for the medicine on behalf of the Nigerian public. But they've not done that. What power does an Igbo trader has to go to Germany or India? What power does he have to negotiate? Whatever the price they gave him, that's what it's going to take. But if the state government decide to go to India with the resources, they meet with the MDs of these companies and say, well, I want the aspirin we're going to buy it at 10 naira, but we need about 1 million tablets. Guess what? It makes sense to them. But if you send one company, they leave it totally up to the again, market forces. But even in America, the inventor of market forces, the government is always on the side. Like they negotiate for the prices of medicine. If you don't have insurance companies too, because they are big, they are bulk purchasers, they negotiate and they sell. That's how it's done all over the world. Here, it's not part of the public discourse. The affordability of medicine, it's just like, the only thing the political class think is to build roads that they cannot even maintain. Food pricing is not their concern. Medicine is not their concern. Security, as long as they have their sirens blowing and they're clearing their way, they feel contented. In California, that I've lived for 36 years, the governor doesn't drive around with sirens, yet the budget of California is more than the budget of Africa. The budget of California, if you piece together, is probably almost $5 trillion. When you piece all the budget from each city, each county, including the state and local governments, it's over $10 trillion. Yet, the governor, you be flying from Los Angeles to San Francisco, the governor is sitting next to you. When the waiters, the air hostess come, they give you the same small cup of soda or Pepsi. They gave me small granule to chew. So how come ours is different? Our budget is not even up to my children's school's district budget, the River State budget. How much is our budget? Look at Los Angeles School District budget, $20 billion. It's more than the budget of Nigeria. Yes. And yet, those people are so humble, they drive themselves. What is wrong with us? What happened to us? We turn ourselves to a banana republic. There's sirens everywhere, not for emergency, but for politicians. Why? Where did they learn that from? In England, I'm sure, even the prime minister doesn't have a siren, doesn't drive around with a siren. Even the queen doesn't drive around. Where did they learn that from? In the US, it's only the president and vice, first lady, and the speaker that drive around with sirens, or when there's a visiting president.